Well, here we are. Everything looking good. We got a few folks. Shane, how's it going? Johnny's got a question for us. We'll jump in just a second. But Michael in Israel again for Tech Tuesday. Thank you for joining us. Um, Drop those questions. If you don't mind hitting a quick share button, and that would be awesome. But as always, whatever marine tech questions you've got, pontoon boats, bass boats, fuel, simple, complex, I love to see if we can stump Israel on getting answers. And if we can't get to the answer today, we'll certainly dig a little research in and get it to you later. But I think we've been doing pretty good since we've been doing these. We've pretty consistently had some pretty good info to put out. So drop us some questions as we go along. And as always, I will make a plug. Uh, some boats are trickling in. Most aren't staying long at all, if not already sold before they get here. So if you or Buddy is thinking about buying boats, I promise. We were talking yesterday. I was talking with Katie. A lot of folks think when they call and say, look, you need to put a deposit down, or else you're not going to get a boat for a while. You get that guy, well, I want to wait and come look at it. Well, you're going to be waiting for a while. So it is not some sales pitch that we're trying to throw out there. It's the genuine truth. It is crazy. So, all right, let's jump into some tech questions. And let's start off with Johnny. He says, do I have to use higher octane gas now with 250?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I recommend 91, but I don't know really any place that sells 91. There's a few Mavericks out there that you can choose your octane all the way through the ranges. But if you use 89 and then use 93 next time, it works okay. So I would use at least 89 at this point.
Now, as always with this conversation, ethanol, non-ethanol, quick answer.
Yeah. Ethanol's okay if you use your boat all the time. It's not going to sit up. Or ethanol gas, that is. But non-ethanol, it's great as long as it's fresh. Some places sit around a long time, so keep that in mind.
I think we've had some good conversations on fuel in past Tech Tuesdays. So you could dig back through on our YouTube channel. It's probably the easiest way to get back and look. But yeah, hopefully that's a quick and dirty answer for you. Let's see. Cody Williams, Yamaha Show 250 with 40 hours on it. Should ever smoke while idling?
I guess what kind of smoke? Is it real like a cloud of smoke and smoking a lot? I would say that if it's really cold outside and your motor's warm, then there could be some steam coming off of out of the engine from just changes in temperature. But if it's like oil smoke, the only time I usually see it is if somebody does a hard run and you leave your motor tucked all the way under, and it gets some of that real warm fuel or oil into the cylinder. And when you crank it up, it might smoke a little bit. But if you're having consistent,
all right,
say,
getting a little more info. Doesn't do it all the time.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably the cold weather, I would say. Just keep an eye on it. If it's still doing it in the summertime, we might have an issue.
So I guess the answer that some folks don't necessarily like, but maybe it's a warm fuzzy. I'm assuming if it's only got 40 hours and it's brand new, you got under warranty. So
yeah, and that's the good news. But I would say the cold weather is going to cause some steam, just because the four strokes they're going to run a little hotter anyway, because they're not. The cooling system is reliant on, it has to keep different things like the oil warmer, so they have different passages where it has to run through the motor a lot more than a two-stroke did, and you're more likely to have hotter water coming out of the engine than the two-strokes did.
And I know last week we talked, I think it was last week, we talked about in the cooler temperatures, making sure you're warming up the motor, not just when you put the boat in the water, but you're getting out and fishing. If you're fishing for an hour, you probably are starting from scratch all over again with the temperature on the oil and everything.
Yeah.
So,
and if you're fishing for a long time after a hard run, it's good to go ahead and trim that motor up. Get positive trim.
Okay.
So that oil can get out of the backside of those cylinders.
All right. Shane, trying to get brother-in-law to trade in his boat for the Falcon. So right now, I will say we've only got 195s and 185s. We've got Predators, 205s, and 215s on order.
I had a tournament edition there for a minute.
Yep. The hybrid. What do you think about that? Not a big fan of the C-deck on the bass boat?
No, I like carpet.
All right. Well, hey.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I just wouldn't. I don't know if the jury's still out on the partial, because I know like Scott Canterbury got C-deck and just on the main part of the floor, But overall, I guess I like the carpet.
Well, fair enough. I mean, to me, I think that's kind of becoming do you like a white boat or a black boat or?
And it seems like they're doing, they do like on that hybrid, the deck, the lids are thicker, it's all fiberglass.
Yeah.
And so they're like, that's it. So I'm sure that boat's going to be a little bit heavier than a normal fiberglass boat with aluminum lids and carpet.
Well, so Shane obviously loves, if he's really serious, like I'd encourage anybody get a hold of sales, and let's figure out what we got on order, what's coming in, if we need to order something custom, unless you want a 195 or 185, because that's all the Falcons we've got right now. All right, what else are you guys asking? Let's see here. Was the oil reservoir in a boat, does it have a relay or anything running other than oil line?
It depends on the engine. So Yamaha is going to have, they call theirs PBS, Precision Blend System. So there's a lot going on in there, and actually it's probably the most complicated system out there. So the Master Yamaha test back in the day used to be like 30% oil system stuff, and people would fail their master certification just because of the precision blend system, because it was so complicated. But with that being said, it was a really well thought out system and worked great. So that system has a bunch of floats in the tank on the engine. It's got a float on the tank in the boat.
Okay.
And so depending on where the float is in the tank on the boat, will determine whether that thing transfers oil or not, or throws an alarm, different stuff, or there's usually little indicators on gauges or lights that'll light up and stuff. So in the Yamaha case, that's where it goes. On a Mercury, they use a pressurized system. So basically they take crankcase pressure and they send crankcase air into that oil tank, and it builds pressure up and then forces a siphon back to the oil tank on the engine. Okay. The only issue with that is it's reliant on it being sealed completely.
Okay.
The crankcase working properly. So if you have a bad revalve or something like that, it may not transfer.
Okay.
Check valve, on that same system, check valve's bad, it may not, function correctly. And then if the oil tank on the boat ever runs low and you suck air, it's going to send that air to the oil tank on the engine side, which means when you fill it back up, you have to bleed the system, bleed that air back off. So it's depending on having to be able to bleed that system sometimes as well. So
it looks like he's got a 2006 Optimax.
Yeah. So in your case, you've got the siphon hoses and the sealed system. So.
All right. Let's see here. I'm sure you talked about it before. Best break-in method for the Yamaha 250 show.
Well, I've got a nice printout.
I need to put that on
Yeah,
our website so that people can just click and download that
yeah.
as a
And
PDF.
instead of telling you, we're going to put a PDF on our website, and this is not the official Yamaha break-in. The official Yamaha break-in covers a 2-horse all the way up to a 425. So, you know, it's not always the
Wait, a 2-horse that doesn't behave the same as a
right.
425?
So it's very generic. So whenever we have RTAs, regional tech guys come out, especially if we have a new style motor come out and it has to have a power head, they always come and we have to ride with them and break it in, put the motor on together, kind of thing. So they have a completely different break in. So what I did is I got with a couple of those guys,
Okay.
and we came up with a more detailed break in.
Okay.
Okay. So and I have a printout of that, and we'll get him to put that on our website, and that way you can have a detailed break-in procedure.
Yeah, I'll get that. I should be able to get that added today under the service section, but yeah.
I will say though that if I tell people to start off about 2,500 RPM. Some
Okay.
boats don't get up on plane
Right.
until about 3,000 RPMs. So we don't want you to be like this,
plowing through
the water for an hour. So you have to you can go ahead and get it up on plane. If it takes 3,000, 4,000 RPMs to get it up on plane, then you want to start off on plane, keep the motor tucked all the way under to start your break in.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't, because doing this down the river is dangerous.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
Yep. All right. So Dustin, I owe you that today. So I will get that on there. Let's see here. They'll have a 115/25. I have no idea off the top of my head.
Usually we don't carry those, but we've had some.
You can look on our website and see. I don't have every single motor on there right now, but take a look or give a shout. We'll get you in touch with Larry's our motor guy, and he handles most of our just individual box motor sales. And
we had a few low hour takeoffs, but I think we sold those, and I've got another takeoff, but I think it's a 20-inch shaft. So we'll double check.
Let's see here. 2016 Merc 150 not charging battery. Anything common to look for on that outboard?
I believe that if that's the 4-stroke, I would say that we've had some. It could be. I think that one runs an alternator. I'm trying to remember.
Don't look at me because
I'm looking at you just as a reference point for me thinking. If it's an alternator style charging system, I've seen a few alternators on those go bad. I think the 150's got the alternators. The 115 does not. It's got and I can't remember exactly the last date they stopped making the Optimax. So I'll just go on a limb in case they made some in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
That does have an alternator as well. I will say that some of these engines have a inline fuse wires. Like, let me get over here. Longer than this.
Okay.
Okay. It goes from the alternator to a block on the side of, like a little, I don't know, a post on the side of the a bracket on the side of the boat engine. But sometimes that thing gets blown and it just won't charge. And unfortunately, if it has the cable, you have to buy the whole cable, and it's about $100.
All right.
You can't just buy the fuse because it doesn't exist. Now, as far as the 150 4-stroke, it may have just a regular fuse that you can replace if that is what it is.
All right. Let's see here. We're going back to fuel. So all the stations around me only have the 87 octane non-ethanol. Should I run the 91 octane ethanol?
Did he say what he was running boat wise? If it's
I don't see.
If it's a 225 or lower, then I would just I would run 87 if you can.
Okay.
Because the only problem with running higher octane than what you need is it has a tendency of building carbon.
Okay.
And we don't want to build carbon, especially over a long period of time, because it causes more harm than good. So I would go with 87 if that's your only choice in that octane. But
so, like, as we roll into the season, assuming you're going to be running a lot and running the boat a lot, go to a station that's got, if you want to run 91 octane, 87 octane with ethanol, that's perfectly fine too, right?
Yeah, it's fine as long as you're using the boat. But it looks like he's only has the choice of non-ethanol where he is.
Gotcha.
In 87. So.
All right. Ethanol treatment here. Good practice run ethanol treatment in every tank of fuel.
I would say it's not going to hurt anything. I would be more concerned with what you're not running. I would say run like a ring free plus the Yamaha. You get quick clean for the mercury. That's a Tegron based carbon debonder, but it also has a stabilizer built into it. And it'll help with ethanol as well. But if you're going to use an ethanol treatment, I would use maybe Startron.
Okay.
I think I say that most of the time.
And that, so he was talking about a 200 show.
Yeah, 200 show. I would definitely try to stick with 87. You can try 91, just see how it performs. If it performs a lot better or something, and I would use this in the summertime, because wintertime you're going to have more horsepower, so it's going to be kind of, the data is not going to be as accurate.
Okay.
But in the dead of summer or in summertime when you're fishing and using your boat, you can try that 91, but I can't say it's recommended. It's recommended for 87. So, but I've had a few guys that have run some HPDIs that said it run totally different with 91 octane, and they loved it. And so I couldn't tell them, hey, if it works, it works. But I know it can cause some buildup of carbon, which the ring free is going to help a lot anyway. But we don't want to put extra carbon in there if we don't have to.
Okay. And this is a question that we got midweek based on our discussion last week. So based on what you said about the switch being responsible for grafts cutting off, what is the solution for that problem? It's a 2021 FXR 20. It drives them nuts. So that was talking about the electrical system and how when you crank it up, the grafts can glitch on you.
Well, I just know, and I may have said this last week, or I'm not real sure, but it seems like I did. But anytime you're running something that has a break point, and so the way those switches are, it's not like they have a really good connection where you have a lot of surface area on a lot of surface area. Where, like an RCA jack, you got a whole round surface area,
right,
and you don't lose very much connection. Okay. So with a switch, it's got 2 points like this, okay? And in between that point is a bar. And whenever you're connecting that switch, you're physically just sitting a contact on top of a contact on both sides, okay? And so unless it's a perfect connection with a lot of pressure on top of it, like, something you can clamp down and hold it down to, have a really good tight airless connection, there's always going to be an imperfection in there. So when you're cranking especially a show or an Optimax or one of those big 4-strokes, you're pulling 200 to 300 amps through that. And so what happens is you pull all that power through there, and you got this kind of okay connection here. It starts sparking every time you do that, and every time you do that, it lifts that connection off just a little bit and causes all these little porous imperfections in the metal. even though it's nice copper,
Mm-hmm.
it's just not enough, connection there to be perfect. And so it's an imperfect kind of deal when you got a lot of amperes going through, and it's the weakest point is going to show up.
Okay.
And so if those graphs are saying that your voltage is coming down past a certain amount, which most of the time is about 10 volts,
Okay.
it's going to drop power. It's trying to protect itself.
Gotcha.
So that's all it's doing. So if you take the battery connection coming from the engine, or the engine connection off that switch, and put it straight to the battery, you're less likely to drop past that threshold because you've got a better connection to the battery, and it's not as imperfect when you got a nice nut holding it on.
Okay.
So, if they made a better switch, I would say it wouldn't be a problem, but y'all can guess where that switch is probably made. I don't have to tell you.
Well,
and Yamaha probably recommends having it on the switch just because you can isolate it from the boat. And let's say if you're one of the cheap trim switches at the front gets water in it and starts trimming your motor up, if you don't have it on the switch, it's going to trim that motor up. So that's why they want to do that, but it really needs a better, airtight, connection.
All right. Let's see here. Thank you all so much for taking the time. It's fun. I learn a lot. I don't know how much fun it is for him.
I get to talk.
Instead of stare at a boat and yell at guys, right?
Well, I don't yell. I'm very tempered.
We got a bunch of good guys back there. They're well behaved. They have a filter for that problem. Which problem were we talking about when you asked this question?
Let's see. Let's go back up.
We're talking fuel problems. All right.
Yeah, we'll move on until he answers that.
Yeah, answer that. Tell us what. Sorry, sometimes we bounce around subjects. Does a Humminbird Mega 360 require its own power source, or does it just get its power from the Helix unit?
It does require its own power source. And if you end up installing one of those all by yourself, there's a extra little wire. There's three wires. There's a red one, there's a black one, and there's one with heat shrink on it. Okay, that one with heat shrink on it, the heat shrink has to be pulled off for whatever reason and put to a ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's got to be completely wired on its own.
Yeah, I don't know why they heat shrink the whole thing and not let you know it, but it's in the directions. But like guys like to do, they like to do stuff without reading directions. I've done it, but I found out you have to have that wire on the ground. So.
Read the directions. Nobody likes to read. Nobody reads anything anymore.
That's why I let you read these questions to me.
It gives me something to do other than just sit here and click on stuff. All right. Filter for the graphs, huh?
So no, I mean it's not really a filter issue. It's a power issue. It's just pulling the voltage down. The amps may still be there. A lot of people forget. We have amps and we have volts. So amps are sometimes more important than the volts because if you don't have enough amps running through stuff, it just won't function properly. But in this case, the amp's probably there, but the voltage drops down toward that little computer, and that graph says, "Hey, we're running low on volts. We need to shut down because, this might be something that can burn us up."
Okay.
And it would happen as well as if you had too many volts, it would try to shut down without burning itself up. So, the real solution is to either get a bigger battery, a better switch, or put the thing that's drawing the most power from the system straight to the battery, which is going to be the engine.
So, and I mean, this seems like we're just nonstop talking about electrical systems on these boats today as graphs, as things like 360 that requires its own power.
And I'll tell you the biggest problem with doing it on an FXR is they have the jump function.
Okay.
And so if you take the engine off the switch, you lose your jump function, which is kind of sad. because it jumps off one of your trolling batteries. So that's really the only downside of doing that is you lose your jump function.
All right.
But I think it's a better way of doing it overall. Tim's back.
Tim, hey, no problem. You join whenever. We've been going about 30 minutes now, so I think we're going to be probably last question.
We could let Tim ask a question just in case.
You think he has a question this week?
He might. Never know.
All right. Well, just in case, Tim, we'll let you get. All right. If I'm wanting to add an HCS Live and an active target, how far behind are you guys getting in line?
I don't even want to say. I'm sure. I haven't been keeping up with it because I've really, our rigging has stepped up. We got real busy in rigging, and I'm over the rigging department now, and I'm kind of in both places. But we have hired a new tech, and he seems to be doing really well. So I think wherever we were, we're kind of easing into a better place.
So where were we?
We were 14 weeks out.
Woo.
But keep in mind when I say 14 weeks out, a lot of that is when you're having a broken boat to troubleshoot. Okay, so we don't treat every boat the same as far as when we work on it. If I've got a 20-hour service out there and the guy bought the boat last week, I'm not making him wait 14 weeks. So keep that in mind when I say 14 weeks. But that time is shortening.
Yeah.
But we try to get easy. I pick a day of the week to get easy stuff out.
Okay.
Just knock a whole bunch of stuff out and get it out of here so it's not clogging up my service yard. So, but you can call Angela at the service desk, and she can kind of give you a general idea of how long we are out on installing units or simple stuff like services.
Yep.
As long as there's not a big laundry list of things, because the big laundry lists kind of go further back.
Well, certainly a trend these days is call and actually talk to us. You can probably text.
Yeah, and
if you don't really want to talk on the phone.
And in case y'all didn't know, we use a text service called Connect.
Yeah,
correct.
Yep, Connect.
So you can take our phone number.
Yep.
256-442-2588, and you can text it, and it'll send us a text.
Yes.
Without you having, somebody's phone number.
Yep. And so shoot them a text. That may be the quickest way. Yeah.
And Shane says see clear power. That helps on all that stuff.
Yep.
So.
Just got a 360 and was about to install myself. Where up front can I find a ground?
Well, you can tap in. I mean, if you're running a 360, and I can't remember if you got multiple graphs up front or anything like that, but if you get past 3 graphs, it's time to run dedicated power up there anyway. So you need to run probably 14, 12 gauge wire, if not C-clear power, like Shane. We have C-clear power in stock. It's expensive. You may be able to get some, marine grade wire for a little bit cheaper if you're not running as much stuff. But if you get up there using a whole lot of graphs and 360 and end up using pan optics and stuff too, it's C-clear time.
Okay. All right. I think this is going to be Timmy. I'm back. Don't have any questions. No questions.
That's okay. That means things are going well.
Yeah. I dropped my boat off for a 200-hour service. Didn't you just buy that boat?
Hey, some people get to fish.
Seems. You tell me.
Or at least run their boat.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be good to see, man. We always love having you stop in. We love having everybody stop in. All right, guys. I think we're going to end it there. If you've got more comments, questions, if you can wait till next week, I'll try and save them or get you some answers in the comments. Yeah. So, moral of today's story, and probably this entire year, call, text, get in touch with us to get some real ground truth answers. Because even when you get into
come by,
come by and talk to us. We'd love to have you. Each manufacturer's got different timelines, and getting products in and getting service done and all that kind of stuff. It's definitely it's fairly complicated this year.
And if you're having trouble getting bait at all your local
Yeah,
watering
yep.
holes, we have a bunch of it.
Yes, yep. Yeah, I mean, we love to see everybody come in and shop the loft. So, all right, guys, y'all have a wonderful day, a wonderful week. If you go fishing, enjoy. And man, I am ready for spring weather.
Yes. Or summer. I'll take the heat.